Hello and welcome to News Round, where we recap stories for you that made headlines during the week. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Thank you for joining us. First, we begin with the headlines. As Nigerians mark Democracy Day, the president clears the names of activists executed in 1995 and pays tribute to democracy icons, saying their sacrifices will never be forgotten. From hard truths to hopeful visions, the platform's Democracy Day edition gathers leaders at the Covenant Nations flagship event to dissect Nigeria's democratic journey and ignite a national discourse on the road ahead. 8 hospital officials face disciplinary action following disturbing reports of inaction and mishandled treatment of accident victims at Abuja's Federal Medical Center. Plus, families left in shock as 242 people die after a London-bound plane crashes in Ahmedabad, Western India. That's News Round in View. That said, welcome to the program, and we thank you for joining us. News Round begins from the nation's capital, and it's been 26 years since Nigeria returned to democracy after years of military rule. In celebration of this feat, President Bola Tinubu on Thursday addressed a joint session of the National Assembly where he quashed speculation that Nigeria is heading towards a one-party state, while opening the door to members of other political parties seeking to join the ruling APC, welcoming in particular new members from Delta and Akwa Ibom states. President Tinubu quite bluntly advised other parties to address internal issues rather than project their fears.
Minutes before a historic national address by President Bola Tinubu at the National Assembly, former lawmakers, traditional leaders, governors, among others, began to fill in the over 300-capacity Green Chamber. President Tinubu arrived alongside Vice President Kashim Shettima and members of the cabinet. The leadership of the Senate kickstarts with their opening remarks.
The 10th National Assembly, which marks its second anniversary today, June 13, which ought to be tomorrow, but we are marking it today, has played its part with diligence and distinction. A total of 844 bills have been introduced within its first 2 years, an unprecedented figure that underscores the Senate and the House of Representatives' proactive posture towards tackling pressing national issues.
Our determination is unequivocal to expedite and finalize the constitutional amendment process by December 2025.
Rekindling memories while reflecting on his struggle for democracy, President Bola Tinubu in his address took a moment to straighten the records.
At no time in the past, nor any instance in the present, and at no future junction, shall I view the notion of one-party state as good for Nigeria. Look at my political history. In year 2003, when the then governing party tried to sweep the nation clean of political opposition through plot and manipulation, I was the last progressive governor standing in my region. Call me any name. I'm not here to make you happy politically. And I will still call upon democracy to defend your right to do so. We cannot blame anybody seeking to bail out of a sinking ship, even without a life jacket.
This drew a rousing chant from the audience, but the president wasn't done yet as he took a pointed swipe at the opposition.
I will not say try your best to put your house in order. I will not help you to do so either. It is indeed a pleasure to witness you in such a disarray. Our nation is not perfect, but it is strong. Our democracy is not invincible, but it is alive. And this means our dream of a prosperous, happy nation is still within reach and worth fighting for.
In a significant move on Nigeria's 26 years of democratic rule, President Tinubu conferred posthumous honors on prominent Nigerians, including Kudirat Abiola, environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, and 8 other members of the Ogoni Nine.
In this light, I announce the conferment of posthumous honors of CAFR on Kudirat Abiola, the heroine of our June 12 struggle. I also confer posthumous honor on Shehu Musa Yar'Adua, GCFR, and Professor Humphrey Nwosu, CON, Shibola Ige, CFR, Ruben Fasoranti, CFR, Bishop Mazi Azam Kuka, CON.
Now, President Tinubu has not only been explicit in his rejection of a one-party future for the country, but concludes by acknowledging the formal adoption of June 12 as the official date for the President of Nigeria to deliver an address to a joint session of the National Assembly. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And as Nigeria marked Democracy Day, the Platform Nigeria also hosted a special June 12 edition of the Covenant Nation Church in Igamu, Lagos. This year's event spotlighted the fundamental pillars of democracy, freedom of speech, to essential institutional reform, with leaders of thought delving into how Nigeria forges more forward-looking democratic systems.
Turn to somebody and say, Happy Democracy Day.
It's Democracy Day, and the Platform Nigeria returns with its insightful special June 12th edition. Key voices from different branches of government and democratic institutions gather to share crucial insights on governance, education, and economic reforms vital for national development.
Pastor Poju Oyemade.
Setting the tone for the significant discourse, Pastor Poju Oyemade, the convener of the Platform Nigeria and the Platform Africa, and senior pastor of the Covenant Nation, highlights one of democracy's most important pillars, the fundamental freedom of speech.
In a democracy where power ideally is derived from the people, the freedom of speech and a right to associate ensure open discourse, allowing citizens to debate policies. Free speech allows for an exchange of ideas, and as ideas intersect and meet and interact, through that, the best ideas emerge.
Following the distinguished speaker, Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, the 6th President and first female President of the Republic of Mauritius, delivers a powerful address emphasizing that education stands as Africa's greatest need. She passionately described it as a surest path out of poverty and a lasting solution to the continent's persistent brain drain.
At the highest level of the education spectrum, we must ensure that our most talented students can enjoy a world-class higher education without being forced to seek for it overseas. Too many of these young scholars understandably stay after obtaining advanced degrees to make their careers and homes in their adopted country. This is their loss, This is Nigeria's loss. This is Africa's loss. The only way to reverse the brain drain is to provide comparable professional and personal opportunities for our most talented sons and daughters at home here in Africa.
Thank you so much. Please sit down.
The conversation then shifts to a core critical issue for Nigeria's democratic process: the imperative of strengthening democratic institutions and implementing necessary reforms.
They have inadequate funding.
In his insightful presentation, former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Tahiro Jega, meticulously outlined key democratic institutions that demand reinforcement while spotlighting the critical challenges that they currently face.
We need to proscribe cross-carpeting, particularly for elected executives and the legislators. And we need to empower the Electoral Commission at the federal level and the CS at the state level to prepare for and conduct by-elections as soon as they have evidence about elected people cross-carpeting. It should be made mandatory that all elections disputes are resolved before swearing in of elected executives.
Since Nigeria's return to democracy in 1999, May 29th was observed as Democracy Day. But in 2018, June 12 was officially declared the new Democracy Day to honor the historic 1993 election believed to have been won by Moshood Abiola.
And as Nigeria marked this year's Democracy Day, here at Channels Television, we started a series of sectoral reports to assess the administration. Our energy correspondent, Olu Phillips, gave a report on the activities of the industry over the last 1 year.
Any possible changes made, policy shifts crafted, executive order pronounced, or ambitious contemplations conceived regarding the energy sector in Nigeria under the present administration can be walked back to that inaugural day pronouncement on May 29, 2023.
The first subsidy is gone.
Of course, the country reacted, but in the same breath, and amidst the immediate and ongoing economic consequences on citizens and businesses, transport costs and inflation, the federal government pointed to an alternative: compressed natural gas as a fuel of choice. But how has that fared so far on the parts of those driving the initiative for penetration versus the reality of things, which includes low patronage, limited refill outlets or daughter stations, the myth and the concerns?
When we took off, we only had 4,000 vehicles that were running on CNG, primarily in Edo State, in Benin, that had been the beneficiary of the 2017 NNPC pilot. And in the last year, we've been able to raise that to almost 50,000.
The Nigerian oil and gas sector runs basically on the transmission process of upstream, midstream, and downstream. Looking over the last 2 years, the president has, through some executive orders, attempted to create seismic shifts to the sector. Off the back of the presidential initiative on CNG came 3 executive orders: introduction of fiscal incentives for non-associated gas, midstream and deep water developments, streamlining of contracting process to compress the contracting cycle to 6 months, and the application of local content requirements without hindering investment or the cost competitiveness. A move the promoters say unlocked $500 million in 2024. However, on the impact side of things, these interventions have been judged differently. The yet-to-be-attained ambitious 2 million barrels daily production and the droves of investment in gas molecules development are high on the list.
Of course, we're still struggling with appropriate gas pricing. This is key because of gas fire standards we have. Unless and until we're able to modulate gas pricing, we're not going to have a kind of an optimum supply in terms of electricity. And that's not going to be too good for the country.
Celebrating the feat of African private sector champions like Seplat Oando and Renaissance, Oluvun Hai, Senior Assistant to the President on Energy, challenged the sector to brace up for the impact of the administration's masterstrokes.
Local content is not a destination. It is a pathway. What matters is not just policy, but performance. Every dollar invested must translate into jobs. Every project must translate into prosperity. The value must stay here, in our communities, in our companies, in the hands of our people. We must stop exporting our potential and start industrializing it.
Into the electricity space, Nigeria is still struggling to pass the electricity class test. While all the documents appear up to date, only 50% of the population has access to electricity via the national grid. Of the 14,000 generating capacity currently, only an average of 4,800 megawatts is served to both homes and businesses in Nigeria. Even the presidential villa is looking to alternative power.
Are we having optimal regulation in terms of the power sector? The answer is no. So it's not, is it Tinubu that will regulate the power sector? The answer is no. Is it Nigerians that will regulate the power sector? The answer is yes. And Nigerians saddled with that responsibility, are they really optimizing, giving Nigerians the best in terms of effective, independent, consensus, patriotic sector governance and regulation? Well, the answer is no.
That notwithstanding, there's been some government interventions which include the rollout of smart meters expected to end estimated billings for 7 million households under the Presidential Metering Initiative, the increase in Band A tariff in 2024, now covering approximately 65% of actual cost of supplying electricity, the settlement of legacy power debt, the reduction of cost for alternative power generation through a range of fiscal incentives, including VAT and custom duty waivers, and targeted electricity subsidies. In the Nigerian Power Sector Performance Update, a document to mark 100 days in office for the year 2025, the Minister of Power concluded with these complaints: 4 trillion naira unpaid generation company debts through tariff shortfall, rampant vandalism, power theft and unpaid bills, resistance to tariff review, and poor investment by operators. With all that, it does appear the flight has yet again been delayed further owing to operational reasons. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Welcome back to News Round. At least 8 persons are facing disciplinary action for alleged negligence of duty at the Federal Medical Center in Abuja. The head of the medical clinical services at the center, Dr. Bioku Muftau, made this known during a media briefing in the FCT. You may recall a viral video from last weekend that revealed neglect and lackadaisical attitude of some medical personnel towards an accident victim that was brought to the emergency ward.
People, they should bring out the patient. I just see them on the road, carry them. You say people.
This viral video shows an accident victim being brought into the emergency unit of the Federal Medical Center in the Jabi area of Abuja.
You don't understand what? I have already bring the patient here. Do you want me to do your work? What are you saying? Oh, it's not your work. You are on camera that you are saying it's not your work. You are on camera.
The video alleged a near abandonment situation of an accident victim and portrays the lackadaisical attitude of medical personnel who were on duty.
This guy is nearly dying.
In a swift reaction to the video on Sunday, the hospital public relations officer sent a press statement indicating that the Minister of State for Health has ordered an immediate investigation into the matter. Part of the statement also notes that preliminary findings reveal that hospital consumables are available, contrary to the claims made by the personnel on duty in the viral video. Barely 24 hours after the statement, the head of clinical services at the hospital conducts journalists on a guided tour of the accident and emergency units to show the availability of the consumables, including other hospital equipment. The hospital management gives further updates on the victim that was in the viral video at the news conference.
The patient, before he left the hospital, was okay. At least the one with the injury on the head, even the same day he left the hospital. Yes, he was stabilized.
He also informs journalists about the number of staff that are being investigated.
The hospital has a very strong and high dream or mission. A hospital that wants to become world-class hospital, I mean, we don't take it with levity, the treatment of patients. All these staffs that are there on that particular day are going to be investigated. For now, 4 doctors, 2 nurses, 2 health assistants.
Rejection or abandonment of accidents or gunshot victims can be the fastest route to preventable death. And the efforts to prevent this led to the signing of the 2017 Compulsory Treatment of Gunshot Victims Act, a law that hospitals are still struggling to adhere to 8 years after its passage.
Now, in spite of efforts to keep the wheel of governance turning in River State, the sole administrator, retired Rear Admiral Ibok Ete-Ibas, reveals that there is lack of cooperation from suspended officials in the preparation of the 2025 budget. He stated this when he appeared before the House Ad Hoc Committee on Rivers for the defense of the 2025 budget proposal of the state submitted by President Bola Tinubu.
The River State sole administrator arrives at the National Assembly to commence the budget defense process of the state. He is warmly received by the members of the Ad Hoc Committee of the House of Representatives, whose responsibility it is to oversight the state, which is currently under a state of emergency.
2025 appropriation.
Rear Admiral Ibok Ete-Ibas, retired, proceeds to present details of the proposed 2025 budget, outlining the proposed revenue and expenditure.
The total revenue projected for the 2025 fiscal year is 1.4 trillion naira. As of May 2025, total revenue inflows were 597.14 billion naira, which is only about 4% less than our projection. The total expenditure planned for 2025 is 1.48 trillion naira.
He informs the committee of the challenge faced in drawing up the proposed budget.
The proposed 2025 budget was meticulously designed to account for and regularize expenditures already undertaken during the first quarter of the fiscal year by the suspended administration before the state of emergency declaration by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Regrettably, some state officials withheld critical information required to ensure a more complete capture of those expenditures at the time of submission of the budget estimates.
The meeting turns out to be brief, as the committee looks towards further engagement with officials of the state.
We will scrutinize the budget. We would invite you. You may send your relevant officials to represent you to the defense, the proper defense of the budget.
The committee promises to be thorough as it looks towards ensuring that the period of the state of emergency in River State is favorable to the people of the state. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
We had news round with the crash of the London-bound Air India plane shortly after taking off from Western India. While everyone on board was believed to have died, local police said one passenger, believed to be a British citizen, survived. He actually walked away from the air crash. The flight manifest shared earlier by authorities lists the passenger as one Viswash Ramesh. Indian media reported him saying 30 seconds after takeoff, there was a loud noise, the plane crashed, it all happened so quickly. In the meantime, we're learning that U.S. investigators will be traveling to India to assist with the crash investigation.
The Air India aircraft headed to London Gatwick crashed shortly after takeoff from Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. The incident occurred just seconds after the aircraft departed at 1:39 Indian Standard Time with the last radar contact recorded at an altitude of 625 feet. The aircraft reportedly issued a mayday call before contact was lost. It crashed into a doctor's residential hostel near the airport. Emergency services arrived within minutes to respond to the disaster. The police chief in Ahmedabad says there appears to be no survivors. Rescue operations are still ongoing, with multiple emergency service units, including firefighters, police, and medical personnel. According to Air India, the aircraft was carrying 169 Indian nationals, 53 British nationals, 7 Portuguese nationals, and 1 Canadian national. The UK Foreign Office has confirmed that British nationals were on board and that crisis response teams have been activated both in London and Delhi to support affected families. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his heartbreak over the incident, stating that he's in touch with officials to coordinate assistance. His UK counterpart, Sir Keir Starmer, has also extended condolences, describing the crash as devastating. Boeing, manufacturer of the 787-8 Dreamliner, has acknowledged the incident. Air India and Indian authorities have set up emergency hotlines and support centers for families. All flight operations at Ahmedabad Airport were suspended but have resumed operations. The weather conditions were clear at the time of the crash, and there are no adverse meteorological factors reported. This is the first reported crash of a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner in this circumstance. The aircraft involved regularly operated routes across Europe and Asia.
Very tragic indeed. Prayers for the repose of the souls of those that lost their lives and sympathy for those that they left behind. That's it on News Round, where we just brought you a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Thanks for watching. I'm Olumide Macaulay.